Hey guys, this is Scott Yingling with YNG Global and also Cravolution. And I just wanted to do a video today because I've been seeing lots of organizations all over the world, in France and England and even in the United States, that talk about practicing Krav Maga. And as far as I'm concerned, they're not practicing Krav Maga the way that I learned, as far as the parameters and the techniques that are Krav Maga. The techniques that the people are teaching, the different schools and places that I've seen are great. They teach great techniques. They're doing a lot of great stuff. Their instructors are tough guys that will win probably most street fights. So this isn't a video to talk bad about other schools or other guys or other people, because to be honest with you, if you're training, you're doing the right stuff. Honestly, it really doesn't matter who you're training with. If you have a low level and you're just trying to increase your knowledge and your ability to defend yourself in violent situations, and you're somewhere and you're working with an instructor that is credible, that's great. Keep doing that. But when you hear about a MMA Krav Maga school, or when you hear about anything that's mixing Krav Maga with something else, that's my issue today. As far as I'm concerned, there's 5 things we need to talk about that make Krav Maga. Okay. The first thing we need to talk about is that it defends against the initial attack. Okay. Clearly, if I am going to defend against a circular strike, I have to properly and correctly defend against that first strike. That's pretty much universal with any technique. In Krav Maga, the interior defense and the 360 defense is excellent. The cage defense, or caging your head against a strike, is great. It works. If you look at guys in the UFC and MMA, why do they block like that? Why do they absorb punches? Because when guys have gloves on, when you're doing a sport, it's a give and take. It's a sport. You're giving, you're receiving, you're absorbing punches. But on the street, I really don't want to absorb a punch, because if I absorb the wrong strike, or if the person is armed and I have the muscular reflex to block here, and the person has a knife in their hand, well, I'm not defending against that initial attack. Secondly, I want to prevent a second strike or a second attack from that same angle. Again, if it's strikes, empty open hand strikes, or just empty hand strikes, and I do my cage or whatever technique, I'm not going to be able to prevent that next strike from coming in. Again, an armed opponent or an armed adversary, that's now going into a problem, because I'm not going to be able to stop or prevent their second attack from coming in. Next, and the reason I'm using this is because each one of these are the most important. There's not one of these 5 things that I believe is more or less important. It's where you are. It's what you're doing. It's at that moment when I'm doing the initial block or the initial defense. That is the most important thing. When I'm already blocked and preventing the second attack from coming in, that is the most important thing. Thirdly, we want to prevent similar attacks from different angles. Okay, so if that person's coming in with an overhand plunging knife attack, I don't want that person, because if you look in any video anywhere, knife attacks aren't going to be just one strike. They're going to come in from multiple angles, and I have to be able to stop, prevent, and mitigate those changing angles. So I have to have a technique, a go-to technique, a muscular technique, a muscular reflexive technique that is going to stop the initial attack, prevent second attacks from coming in, and also be able to adapt and compensate for the possibility that after that first attack, he'll change up, or that they will change up directions. Fourthly, I want to have the ability to get out of there. Okay. Now we're going to talk into, okay, if my family's with me, if I'm a police officer, if I'm in some type of controlling a group of people, well, then I can't get away. It's my job. But if I'm on the street, In today's world with laws and legal issues and all of that, I don't want to stay there and fight. The days, if you're doing martial arts, if you're doing Krav Maga to be able to be a good bar fighter, or someone that's going to be able to go out and win fights, that's not the thing that self-defense and Krav Maga is about. First of all, it's avoidance and getting away and staying away from the situation. But if you are in that situation, you need to stop and deal with that person as quickly as possible, and then find a means of ease, a way to get out of there. Okay, you want to strike, get the person as quickly disoriented as possible, and then get out of there. Why are you going to stay there? You don't need to go to the ground. You don't need to have an MMA fight, because if you are going to the ground, and here's what I've seen a lot of times. These schools are teaching leg locks and ankle locks and arm bars and stuff like that, and that's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's Sambo, that's shoe fighting. All that stuff is great, but in a real world situation, do you want to be on the ground even if you're winning, if you're breaking that guy's arm when he's pulling out a knife with the other arm, or when his buddy's there and there are 2 or 3 other people are coming in and now they're kicking you in the head, and now you're losing a fight that you could have been winning, or you could have already won and left. Okay, so the means of egress. And for me, lastly here, you need to have the simultaneous blocking and striking. Again, I've seen lots recently. I've seen a guy that was a Krav Maga instructor, MMA Krav Maga was the school. And everything he was doing was block here, kind of a karate type block and strike. Krav Maga is based on the principle of blocking and striking simultaneously. Because if the person's coming in with a knife strike, if I'm just doing a 360 defense on that knife strike, I'm not destabilizing and causing pain and giving him a disconnect in his brain because of the pain that I'm inflicting. So that 360 defense is going to be way less effective, and it's going to be less effective because I'm just going to be standing here blocking. And if you're lucky enough to be able to block that first strike, your chances of blocking the second, third, and fourth are significant, exponentially going down if you're not inflicting damage on that person at the same time that you're blocking. So simultaneous blocks and strikes are Krav Maga. If they're not doing it, if you're not learning simultaneous blocking and striking, you might be doing something really great. I have a black belt in karate, and my style is excellent. Karate is great for what it is, but it's not Krav Maga. It's not simultaneous blocking and striking for the principle of inflicting damage at the same time that I'm defending against the attack. If you're not doing these things, if you don't have all of these things, you might be doing a great sport, a great school, a great club, a great teacher, but for what Krav Maga was created and the principles that it was created upon, it's not Krav Maga. You're doing something else. It might be great, but it's something else. Guys, I appreciate it. Feel free to give me comments. Tell me what you think. Please don't forget, this is not an attack on anybody. This is just what I think and how I was trained. And shout out to Kravolution and my instructor, Jean-Paul Geoffrey. He's probably one of the highest ranking Krav Maga instructors in Europe. Thanks a lot. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, like, subscribe, share, and please don't forget to give me comments. I want to hear all your thoughts on what I believe. All right? Thanks a lot. Keep training.